Hello and welcome. This is Social Studies, Voices from Across America. I'm Bill Wood.
And I am still Peter Goldsmith.
Still Peter Goldsmith, the great Peter Goldsmith. We have a special show today. And we've already started special. We're going to talk directly to you and try to get you to talk directly to us. We want to find out who you are, where you're from, and what you're doing and why. That's the most important thing, isn't it, Peter?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Bill, we've gotten a bunch of emails, and I'd say that most of them are very, very positive. You guys seem to like what we're doing. But what we'd like you to do is, of course, keep sending us the emails, obviously, but please include stuff you'd like to hear us discuss and that you would like to get involved with as well. What we're trying to really do, and Bill, you said this to me before we started today, we're trying to build a community here. And we're trying to get everyone involved and get everyone's opinion on issues. I think we're at a very divisive place right now in our history, our cultural history and our political history. And I think it's important for the average person to speak up and let his or her feelings be known.
You couldn't have said it better. It is a divisive time, and what we're trying to do with Voices Across America is to bridge some gaps that are trying to fester and divide us, and we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that people have a place to go, place to be in community, and not just in community with us, but a community with each other, so that they could come here and learn a little bit about it. That's one of the things that we wanted to do today, is to let you know how we feel about certain things. Like the consumerism, for me, is becoming a very heated topic that I'd like to find some way of addressing. I sent away for a little $5 thing. I called myself saving $4. On the one website, it was $10, where the people that make this little adapter doohickey. And I found it on another site for $6. And I said, all right, cool, I'll save $4. Well, the $6 website sent me the wrong thing. And when I called the people to say, hey, this is the wrong thing, what do I do now? I haven't heard from anybody. And that's a very small thing. I'm sure it's happened to everybody. But on a larger scale, what's happening is that these end-user license agreements, the EULA, those things that you click on at the end, it's 16 pages of stuff. What they are doing is saying that you don't have any recourse to do anything against us. If there's a problem, all we're going to do is go to arbitration. We're going to assign the arbitrator from our pool of 4 that work for us, and you don't have any say in the matter. And if you do, go away, don't bother us. That's privatizing the judicial system. That's a giant leap away from where we started, but that's happening, and that's something that's been on my mind, and I'm sure it's happened to people, maybe you, Peter, or people that are listening.
Well, I'll tell you, Bill, it hasn't happened to me, but there's a really funny story in my family. I want to talk about 2 different issues here, but let me start with this one. My mother, this is going back 25 years, was watching television and saw those ads, buy this fry pan, and it's $5, and it can cook and bake and steam and boil and do everything in the world. And it's only $9.99, and it's a perfect fry pan. And you know what they showed: cooking an egg, cooking a roast beef, making ice cream, so whatever it happened to be. So Mom was all excited about this, and she said, I'm going to get this, and so forth. I said, fine. And I spoke to her about, I don't know, a few weeks later. I said, hey, Mom, did you get the magic fry pan? Yeah. I said, well, you don't seem very excited about that, Mom. Well, it's okay. I said, Mom, can I see the fry pan? No, you don't need to see it. Come on, Mom, can I see the fry pan? Okay. The fry pan was about 3 inches around. It was enough to make 1/2 of one fried egg, which put her off forever now. But it gets me into an idea which really makes me nuts, and you kind of brought it up. Commodity fetishism. All we want to do is buy things. We build a shopping mall, and it becomes a sport. People go shopping the way we play sports. Everyone's going to the mall and doing this and doing that. On the other hand, We're talking about everybody being too fat. Everybody should be on one or another diet. There's 5 million diets out there. Everybody should eat kale and a little bit of warm water, and that's all you should eat, and so forth. And then you sit down to watch your favorite Tuesday night show, and you see McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, so I don't know what it is with a Z, some kind of thing. And all they're showing you is, hey, and Jack in the Box, which is my favorite character, and he's got mashed potatoes with bacon, sausage, and jalapenos in there, and it's only $3. Well, why don't you save $2.95 and buy a 5-cent cork and put it in your arteries? Because that's basically what you're doing. And so the point is, on the one hand, we tell everyone, you've got to buy these self-help diet books. They're really going to help you. And you've got to go out and you've got to go on your diet. And then every ad that they see in primetime television is for crap, junk food. So what is that? What are we telling each other? What are we doing to each other? If you advertised good food, nobody would want to eat it. I'm a vegan, and I'm a musician. I use that term loosely. And occasionally we're playing for a couple of hours, and I get really hungry. And instead of eating chips and all that stuff, I usually have a vegan protein bar. And when I eat it and I take it out, half the people I play music with just go, oh, God, not that thing again. And it's tasty. It's got dark chocolate on it, and it's got healthy things inside. I'm not going to say the name because I don't want to promote it. But you know what I mean? It's like we need to have some kind of ground zero where we either say, okay, buy everything. And, I've thought a lot of times about doing a performance of a guy watching TV and ordering all these ridiculous things and really seeing how they are and showing the audience what works and what doesn't work and how much money you have to spend to get nothing.
You hit the nail on the head. Now, what we're not saying here is it's okay to buy stuff on TV. I bought a phone system that was spectacular, and I've been more than happy. It was $100, and I've been more than happy with it. It solved 2 or 3 problems for me. And how I got there was pretty strange. I don't know whether it was Home Shopping or QVC or whatever it was. I stumbled onto it. They were selling it. Said, oh, I need that. And I bought it. But to sit there and just be a consumer, and that's your religion, then that's a problem. And we don't want to tell people just to go buy stuff, but we also don't want to tell them not to buy stuff. The point is to figure out what your needs are, meet those needs, and not get so involved in what you're doing that you lose sight of the realities of where you are and what you're doing and why. It's consumer.
But here's another one, Bill. Here's another one. This is a Peter Goldsmith exclusive, so it probably has some strange things in, okay? Before you can build a large shopping mall, you need to ask for public opinion, and you need to get public okay, making sure it's in a proper place and it's zoned correctly and all those things. Now, when you build a shopping mall and you're putting in different stores, and some of them are high-end stores, you're spending many millions of dollars. I don't know the number on that, okay? Why can't, in the proposal, be this addenda? If we grant you the right to build this shopping mall, which will attract teenagers ad infinitum because they all go there. We've all been in shopping malls and seen that. You need to build a place of recreation and education for teenagers. In other words, you need to build a large room where there are computers, where there are video games, where there are quiet places for them to do their studying, where they can get a soft drink or at least water or something as a part of the overall cost of the shopping center. Why is that so difficult to do? I don't get it.
I would think that would be a marketing exercise for somebody. If you have this study area, you need things to study with, pencils, papers, pens, highlighters, whatever.
No, they don't have pencils and papers anymore, Bill. You're showing your age. I teach part-time at the college. They don't know what a pencil is.
Yeah,
when they see one, they go, wow, that's really far out.
Cool. Yeah,
you need to have your phone. But whatever, I get the point.
Yeah, I gave my granddaughter a set of encyclopedias, like 2-3 shelves full of encyclopedias. And I laughed with her mother saying, is she going to use this? And her mother says she loves it. She said, who thought this up?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Going somewhere.
Wow, what a great idea.
And reading something, Yeah.
Which you probably bought from a guy who came around selling one volume at a time every month.
Exactly.
Like we used to in the day.
Exactly.
But these things to me seem very simple to deal with, except there's always a motivational force behind them. And the motivational force is, and I hate to say it, greed.
Yeah, well, that's part of that's like the fifth definition of capitalism is greed. Profit has become, especially in contemporary society, profit's become a 4-letter word. I mean, how do you, the whole trickle down, and we're going to give you a chance to make more money so that you can hire more people. And what it's happened is that these people have given the tax advantages, and I'm going into politics here briefly, but the tax advantages that we've given them, they've bought other companies, put more people out of work instead of taking that money and giving people raises and hiring more people. That's an ugly thing. And
Bill, you get to a point the other night, it's no secret out there, so probably people will hate me after I say this, but it's okay. The other night I was watching my favorite baseball team, which is the New York Yankees, of course, and they were playing their heated rivals, the Boston Red Sox. Okay, now they don't have a chance of catching Boston in the divisional race. They don't. But growing up, this was the most heated rivalry that you could imagine. I mean, people were printing up T-shirts and hats saying Boston this and Yankees that and so forth and so on, and screaming and yelling, and going to Fenway was dangerous for a Yankee fan. And I'm sure coming to the Bronx for a Boston fan was equally as dangerous. And it was a real rivalry. And now it's about money. Guys who were, we'll never trade this particular guy. Well, once the guy saw a better deal out there, he went and took the deal. The concept of sports, growing up as a child, and I've said this to you, the hierarchy for me was the highest you could be was Mickey Mantle. Right below Mickey Mantle was God, and right below God was my dad. But Mickey was still up there on top of the pantheon, And now it's different. You're basically watching two corporations play against each other with the workers that they've hired at that point and the workers they haven't fired or gotten rid of still there. And some of them they have gotten rid of are other places which we don't know about. Loyalty has become a secondary elaboration to profit motive. And I think that is really, really frightening, and especially in sports, because for me, sports has always been a time of relaxation. I don't have, thank goodness I don't, the connection that I had as a kid. I mean, if the Yankees lost when I was 11 years old, I was, forlorn for a week. Now when they lose, I'm like, shoot. Okay, is dinner ready?
Yeah.
My wife has got dinner on the table.
There's another game tomorrow. Yeah, maybe they'll win tomorrow. Yeah.
But you know what? It's still, Bill, where, it should be enjoyable. It should be relaxation. You should be able to cheer for and boo your team against and boo the other team and so forth and so on, and not have to worry that everybody has got something on their jerseys. They're all, if you watch soccer, and I love English football, there's no, they don't put their team on the jersey anymore. If you don't know which jersey Man United is wearing, you don't know if it's Man United. What they have on the front is Chevrolet and a big Chevy cross there. And on the back, they've got smaller ads and their numbers. So what they're saying is Chevrolet is more important than the Manchester United name. Now, they do have a logo on the front. It is true. The Man United logo is up here in the top of it. But you know what I mean? Basketball is now getting into that, and football is getting into that. And you can't see a football jersey without seeing, and I think this is true of football, could be basketball, a Nike swoosh. Okay, because Nike provides those, or Under Armour, or whomever it may be.
Yeah,
okay?
now I have to admit that that's a frustration for me because I'm old school. I'm an old guy, and I grew up cheering for the Cleveland Browns. I haven't had a lot to cheer for in about 3 years or 4 years, but that's part of my DNA. That's what I know. Just like you're a Yankee fan, I'm a Cleveland Browns fan. But I cheer for the team as much as I cheer for people. I'm starting to cheer a little more for people. I cheer quite a bit for LeBron James. And he's been with the Cleveland Cavaliers. He's been with the Miami Heat. And now he's with the Los Angeles Lakers. For some reason, I've lived in Los Angeles most of my life, for more than 50 years. But I've never developed a strong attachment to the Lakers and the Dodgers and so forth. It seems like every time I cheer for them, they let me down. So there's not enough DNA in there to cheer just for the Rams, the Dodgers, the Lakers, and the Kings, as there is for the Cleveland Browns. I've never lived in Cleveland, but Cleveland was part of my DNA when I was growing up. So it's always, the imprint is there.
But you say you root for LeBron James, as I do as well.
Yeah.
But I think you and I will agree on this. We root for LeBron James. He's a magnificent basketball player, as good as any. Whether he's better than Michael Jordan or not, that's left to the experts, not us.
Yeah.
But I root for him politically.
Yes.
Because I think he's a terrific role model for young people and quite frankly for everybody. He speaks his mind. He's an interesting guy. He's got knowledge. I know he's not a college guy, whatever, but he's certainly got a lot of knowledge. He certainly seems to be a righteous guy and a good guy and aware socially of what's going on. So I root for him for that. But it's not like I care about the Lakers. I care about LeBron. I hope the Lakers win because I hope LeBron wins, but it's not the same thing.
Even in his production stuff. I heard this conversation today on television. He's doing a lot of television production, both in cable and broadcast and HBO, pay-per-view, whatever, Netflix. But what he is doing is, if he'll do a show on, for example, the kids that grow up in Liberty City outside Miami, and they're becoming football players because they identify with the success of other players. I think some stat that 1 in 5 football players grew up in a 5-mile radius of each other in Miami. He's got a social commentary involved in these interesting stories. So that's something that he's decided to do, not just to go in there and make profit from creating television programs. He's creating content that has a value to the community, so that even if you don't care about sports, you'll care about this program. And that's another reason why I cheer for the guy, because he has stepped in a different area and he's opened some doors, knocked down some barriers, and made a life different for people like him in the NBA. Social media, in fact, has made it possible for people like LeBron, Kevin Durant. We talked about this in a podcast a little while ago.
Yes, we did. But you know, Bill, of all the negativity which surrounds social media, and there's a great deal of it, we all know it, we're not going to rehash it. But for me, social media is the first time in recorded history that media is truly democratic. What I mean by that is any person in the United States of America can walk into a library and use a computer and post a blog on that computer, and if enough people listen to that, can continually post his or her blog forever, and maybe it grows even bigger into something else. But it's the first time that every man, woman, and child, regardless of who you are or what your economic status is, can actually go and you can post something and get 5 million people listening to you. And that is a terrific thing, I think, about social media. I'm not. We know the downside. Let's not get into that.
Yeah.
But
I do agree with you wholeheartedly in that it has opened the door for people to talk to each other. There was a book written in another lifetime called Megatrends. I don't know if you remember that.
Sure.
Probably it's old enough that people that are watching us now probably read it or at least heard of it. But one of the issues, one of the trends that the author talked about was that information was not going to be top down anymore. We weren't going to listen to Walter Cronkite tell us the news every night, but people were going to talk to each other. Now, this is long before social media, long before the World Wide Web, which changed the internet. It was long before this peer-to-peer communication happened. This was a trend that was beginning to happen then. So people talking to each other like we're doing now, and like we're asking people to let us know what they think about what we think, is peer-to-peer communication. And you and I aren't pontificating and asking people to believe what we say and only what we say, and that's the only thing that's important. I think that's a part of the value. And every time I think of this, I think of that one chapter. For some reason, it stuck out with me. This peer-to-peer communication is going to be important, and this was something talked about more than 30 years ago.
Oh, yeah. And, Bill, you bring up the name Walter Cronkite. Funny, because Walter Cronkite at some point around 1968, because he actually spoke at my graduation from Syracuse University, was the most trusted man in America.
Yes.
That's what he was labeled. That's the way CBS would say, Walter Cronkite, the most trusted man in America, brings you the evening news and so forth and so on. However, cut to 2018, soon to be 2019, and we hear, and I have a statistic which you sent me, 51% of Republicans believe that the press, the news, is an enemy of the people. 36% feel it is an important part of democracy. 36%. 51% think it's an enemy of the people. That's what the news has become today, because the country is so divided. We have this thing called false news, which is just an answer to anything that you don't want to hear in the news. That's false news.
Or alternative facts, or truth isn't truth, or all the other things. That part of the issue of now the other side of what LeBron is doing is that he's grown up in the spotlight from the 10th grade to now. Somebody has stuck a microphone in his mouth and asked his opinion, asked what he's doing and why. So he's never had the chance to talk directly to people like he does now, and he's taking advantage of that. And again, whether it's through ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, he's got Netflix, he's got HBO, he's got Showtime, he's got a dozen different ways to communicate with people, and he's taken advantage of all of them. And I think that's a good thing. We both grew up in the media. We both made a career in the media, made a successful career in the media. And the value of talking to an audience can't be replaced by anything if you want to have success in a media environment. And today, the world spins around some sort of media environment.
Yeah, it does, Bill. And what troubles me about this stuff is once you start with the concept of quote unquote false news, then nothing is real anymore. In other words, there are certain facts. 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen is water.
Yeah, right.
2 plus 2 to 99.9% of the world is 4. I know there are mathematicians who say, no, it's 3.9, whatever. But I'm talking about those of us in the world, okay? Those are facts. Those are inarguable facts. But there are also other facts which can be discussed and perhaps debated, but they're not false news. They're not, and the idea of whatever I don't agree with is false news. All that does is pull us further apart and further apart. And, as we now have totally deconstructed the American democracy, as far as I'm concerned, and we've gone off into little pieces of this one versus that one versus the other one versus the other one, we're left with, okay, and we've been saying this since day one, where is a common denominator to build back trust and at least respect for everybody and everyone listening to everyone else and agreeing to disagree in a sane way? That's the troubling point here. And I think what happens is I think everything spins out from that. In other words, I think that people are so alienated now that they accept alienation as a common thing, not good or bad.
As the norm, yeah.
As the norm, yeah. And so when this happens, we feed into children taking weapons into school. We feed into advertisements about McDonald's, and I'm not denigrating McDonald's, but we know about fast food. Let's leave it at that. It feeds into craziness where young children are asked to do things that they shouldn't normally do or even know about. It feeds into hatred and bigotry and racism. And that stuff is really what we need to establish a focal point to get rid of.
That is so important as we wrap up here. That is so important for us to understand. It is where we started this podcast from, and it's where we started today from. We are looking for community. We are looking for ways to, for us to communicate, for us to be in communion with each other, using all the derivations of that word community. And AgnitusLife, Social Studies, Voices from Across America, this podcast, we want to create community. We want to come together and be able to communicate with each other. You can do that with us. You can get this podcast. You can tell someone else about this podcast. You can get it from YouTube. You can get it from iTunes. You can get it from Google Play. You can get it from all these sources that are available to you. If you're watching us, you already have some sophistication with social media. So let us know what you think. Communicate with us so that we can be in community with you. And that's what we started with, and that's a perfect point. Now, finally, the perfect place for us to be in community with each other is November 6th at the box office, which is the voting booth. And
right.
If you don't think that your vote counts, just consider that the current occupant in the White House got there out of how many millions of votes. He got 66,000 more votes in 3 states, and he won the election. So we've got to vote. Whatever your opinion is, whatever you think about anything, whether you disagree vehemently with us, you must vote. Whether you agree with us completely, you must vote. You cannot. There are people out there today who are in the process of buying America, even to the point of putting a for sale sign on Capitol Hill. So that's the community that we want to emphasize, is you in community with Peter and I in the voting booth. And let us know what you think there, and then let us know what you think in this community here at Social Studies Voices Across America.
Yeah, Bill, just to follow up on that, I know we're running out of time. In the last election of 2016, 56% of the eligible voters voted. Just as a balance to that, in Belgium, where you must vote. It's mandatory. They get over 90% of people voting. You know, everyone needs it. It's a right to vote. People have given their lives. Men and women have given their lives for us to have the ability to vote.
Yes.
Okay. And there's a lot of things that we can disagree on, and that's fine. But we can all go to the ballot box, and we need to. And speaking about disagreeing, you know, you and I are fairly thick-skinned. We've grown up in the media. We've had our butts kicked all over the place many, many times.
Daily in 15-minute
We have, as most people have. It's fine.
Yeah.
And I would love to hear from people who don't agree with us, who really say, you know, you guys are full of, as my sainted mother would say, you guys are full of malarkey. And let us hear your voice. We'll read them. I'm happy to read that stuff. I'm happy to start a dialogue. I'm happy to put someone on with us who says, you know what, guys, I don't agree with you. Your politics are skewed. We don't like that. Wonderful. There is a way to get to us. Peter@AgnitusLife.com and or Bill@AgnitusLife.com. That's our emails. You know, to be honest, we get a bunch. We don't get that many. So we'll read them and we'll reply to you. And we'd love to hear what you have to say. If you're with us, great, wonderful. Do something about it. If you're against us, then tell us and tell us why. And let's talk about it. Let's open up the forum. Let's hear disparate voices. Let's hear people who agree and disagree, and let's listen to what they say, both sides.
I couldn't have said it better. We're here to make community. We want to invite you into this community. We want you to take care of each other and to respect each other in this community.
Peace.